All right, what is
Cool.
up, everybody? Welcome to the Eddy Live Show. I'm here, episode number 317. I'm here with MMA fighter from Australia, David Gillies. What's up, brother?
Hey man, how you doing?
So awesome, man.
Oh.
The first and only man I've ever cornered in his life, in my life. It was such a cool experience, man. I love it, and happy to have you back, brother.
Yeah, man, it's been cool. It's been like
Yeah.
6 years since I saw you, so
It's been a
it's been
long
awesome to
time,
catch
man.
up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of share your story. Obviously, you're in. I'm tripping you out here with my foot here. I know. I know you went back to Australia for a
Yeah.
while, right?
Yeah.
But your audio's good. Okay, good. And man, we want to start kind of with like the original. You know, what brought you to Taiwan? We always want to start with that because
Yeah.
that's everybody's favorite topic,
Yeah, I know,
right?
right?
Why
Yeah,
do
yep.
people come to Taiwan?
Yeah.
So
well,
start with that.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like it was just by accident. So I
that's
was
good.
I was 19 and I was like, man, I just want to get out of Australia. What am I gonna do? And I was like, cool, MMA's pretty fun. Maybe I'll go to Japan because back then like Pride was
Pride, yeah, yeah,
massive.
yeah.
And so one of my friends, I was like, dude, we should like just bounce, get out of Australia, and let's do that. So actually, I skipped my year 12 exams.
Okay.
And I just hung out with him for the day and we started planning everything. And so we're like, all right, cool. We're gonna save up money for a year.
Nice.
We'll study Japanese. We'll train, and then we'll move to Japan.
Nice.
And so I got a job. I was saving money. I was studying Japanese. I was doing it by myself, and like it was pretty hard.
Oh.
And then so my friend, like, he didn't get a job. He ended up starting to play World of Warcraft.
Oh shoot!
And,
Oh no!
Yeah. So he got addicted to
Yeah,
WoW.
that's addicting stuff.
And
Yeah.
he didn't study any Japanese, and he actually stopped training MMA and got fat. And I was like, oh, this is a two-person plan. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so one of my jobs when I was saving money was like a Chinese restaurant. And my friend there,
Nice.
he's like in his 50s. He's like, oh, you should go to Taiwan. And I was like, oh, I don't even know anything
Where is
about
that?
Taiwan.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
where is that? And I'm like, why are you telling me? You're from somewhere else. And he's like, no, do that. And I'm pretty impulsive, so I was like,
All right.
sure. And then so I it was back in the day when we were using MySpace, so it was pretty long
Okay.
ago. And like on
Nice.
MySpace, you could kind of like just add random people and start chatting. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll just add some Taiwanese people, learn about Taiwan. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I stopped studying Japanese, started learning Chinese. And then I just moved here, started university over here. And yeah, it was just not planned at all. It was just
Okay,
all by
okay.
pure accident. And then
and you
I-
went to Pingdong, right?
Yeah,
right off
yeah,
the bat.
yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
I enrolled into university at Pingdong.
Okay.
I'd probably been studying Chinese for like 6 months. And I was like, yeah, I can do uni in Chinese. Like, why not?
That's crazy.
And,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, my first day at uni, I was like, holy crap, I'm not ready for this. And I was like, oh no, I'll be able to do it. I'll get there. And then like over
Confident.
time,
I love it.
yeah, over time, like my Chinese was getting better. I reckon the first semester, like the teacher would say something and like my listening was good, and I was like, sweet, cool. And he's
Got
like,
it.
all right, who wants to answer the question? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I know the answer, but I just don't know how to articulate it. And
Yeah.
that was a challenge, but I feel like 6 months into it, like my talking got better.
Gotcha.
And I was able to like say stuff.
Okay.
And then I think, and I think the reason I was able to learn Chinese better
Yeah.
was because all my classes are in Chinese. We
Nice.
can't use English. There's not many foreigners in Pingdong, so
Yeah.
like you have to speak Chinese or you're just not going to get by.
I think Pingdong is a. There's a lot of Taiwanese there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's a lot of not many expats or foreigners down there, right? Which is
Yeah.
really cool. Which is a great way to learn it. Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
people. We were talking about it earlier. I know people that have been here for a very long time that speak almost zero Chinese, and nothing against them or whatever. But yeah, you can live here and not speak Chinese, and it's still pretty easy to get by. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure.
Do you feel like if you live here and you do learn Chinese, does that benefit you in the Taiwan experience?
Yeah, I think so. Like, especially in Pingdong, like I was able to fit in with people and like
Yeah.
we all just talk. Like back then, it was a big deal if you spoke Chinese. So people
Yeah.
would be like, "Whoa, holy crap, you speak Chinese!"
Yeah.
Or some people just assume that like you're unable to speak Chinese and they don't really talk to you. They're like, I might get the bookstore or Macca's or something.
Yeah.
And they just point to the till and be like, that much. They don't say like, oh, hey, this is how much you got to pay.
Yeah.
And I thought that was weird because like my thought is like, if you're in my country, I'm gonna speak to you in my language because you're here. You probably need to speak my language. But over there, like over here, I should say, is like a bit different. But I remember one time I walked into Macca's and there's this girl and she was like at the counter freaking out.
Yeah.
And then I just
experience.
walked up and I was like, oh, 我要一个买香鱼餐. And then she was like, I was like, what's up? She's like, I didn't know how I was going to talk to you. And I think because I could talk Chinese, like I was able to fit in more with everyone. And like, especially at my university, I was the only white student at my university.
So you stuck out for sure.
And back then I was a pretty shy person. So like, I used to sit at the back in all my classes and, don't want to have anyone pay attention to me. But when I moved here, everyone's like, hey, look, like, 你看得到啊?
Yeah.
And some people are like, are you a teacher here? And I was like, look at me, I'm like 19. I'm not a teacher here, like not at all.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of get over the whole having people look at me thing, especially in the South.
Yeah.
And like this time coming back to Taiwan, like if I speak Chinese, I feel like times have changed. Like no one bats an eye anymore. Like they're just like, oh yeah, cool, and just keep talking to you in Chinese. Whereas like last week, we went back to Pingdong and like everyone's staring at you.
Yeah.
And maybe it hasn't changed as much down there as like it has up here.
I think Taiwan has got a lot of students that come to learn Chinese. Then they love it. They stay. They do like a YouTube channel or something. So there's a lot of it. Now it's still depending on where you are, some parts of Taipei you'll still get that like, oh, you speak Chinese. Wow, that's great. Down south for sure, they're like, what? That's kind of surprising. But no, I think it's for me. I think if you learn it, it's gonna help. It's gonna help a lot.
Sure.
You enjoy your life a little bit better. You kind of get a little bit of that like the respect a little bit, like that rub. People are like, oh, this guy learned our language. We're trying to learn his language. He learned ours. So it's I think I always get that cool vibe. Yeah.
I remember one time, like, because I read and write as well.
That's crazy. Wow.
I went to a restaurant and they pulled out an English menu, but like I can't remember what the restaurant was, but it had a gimmick. So all the foods had like stupid names.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, what is that? So I grabbed the Chinese menu and like, it's very literal in like what it is. I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then I just ordered and they're like, I gave you the English menu. I'm like, I don't know what that says, man. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
But
man.
I think like speaking's one thing, but when you start writing, people freak out even more.
Sure.
It seems like it's a very hard language, and they just assume that you're incapable of learning it. Sometimes, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really sure.
I think because the writing, like someone like me has been here for a long time, speaking is pretty decent, but to write, you have to spend the time. Like speaking, you can just go out. You wheel and deal and you chat and blah, 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 I think. But with writing, you're sitting there like a kid, practicing your stroke order and stuff like that, right?
I think that's how I got good in the first place. So like in psychology, there's like a term called chunking, which is how you retain information better. And then so like if you're learning new vocabulary, you have to give meaning to it. So I'd pick a grammar structure for the day. Okay. And I would write that over and over, and I'd say it while I was writing it, and then I'd change, one word in the sentence. So like if I'm going somewhere, I'd be like, 我要去卖东西,我要去看电影. And so I'm writing and writing and writing and engraving it into my head. Okay. And I started watching Chinese movies with Chinese subtitles.
That helps, for sure.
And because I had English subtitles on, but I realized I was focused on the English. Reading. And I was like, oh, I don't know what he's saying. So I started watching all the movies with Chinese subtitles. And at first, I was like, oh, man, I don't know everything. Like, I probably don't know much at all. But then because I was writing characters every day, I would see them on the screen, and I'd hear the sound as I was speaking.
Connection.
And then, I was able to connect it. And I think in my head, I was like, well, I need to learn the way kids learn here in a natural environment. So I'm going to take out the English, not really do translation as much, and just use it and learn it the way like they would. Yeah. Because there's some words that like I know in Chinese now that like I learned it while I was here, and I'm like, in context, I know what it is in English, and I could say the sentence. But if you're like word for word, what does this mean? I'm like, I don't know. And there's some words even like in Taiwanese that I learned in Pingdong that I didn't know in Chinese for a while, like Olen, which is Hey Lun. And like I only found that out like a month ago because I was trying to explain to someone what it was, and I was like, I don't have no idea. And then like like fight, everyone uses like dingoki and I didn't know the Chinese equivalent for the longest time.
That's
so
hilarious.
like I just used the Taiwanese word.
Yeah.
It was weird.
That's funny because I think language is kind of a unique thing. Like sometimes people will, because I also speak Chinese, but I also speak Spanish, right? But sometimes, for example, I'll have like a Mexican customer or something come in, we'll be chatting and I don't use my Spanish very much. So we'll be chatting, blah, blah, blah. And then my brain will draw a blank on a word in Spanish and my brain will just like fill it in with Chinese. So I'll just be speaking Spanish and then the Chinese word pops in there. And this is like native Spanish speaker who speaks no Chinese.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what happened to your Spanish, man? I'm like, oh man, I don't know. My brain is always, it's like ADHD mode, kind of like, put things together with languages and just, And like we were talking about earlier, I think that it's very important if you learn the language. Like if you go to Mexico and you speak Spanish, you get a different reaction than if you, speak English, right? I feel the same way here. And I don't speak much Taiwanese, but when I throw a word or two in there, people are sitting here, they're having a beer, and then I'll come in there and just say like one or two words. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's next level, right? So Taiwanese is like, I don't hear it that much in Taipei, but it's always next level stuff, man. I love that. Yeah.
One time, like back in Australia, I trolled one of the Taiwanese guys that were while I was doing some study, I was working like this factory job, and there's like a lot of Taiwanese that come over on working holiday visas, and I had to teach this guy to do one of my jobs for a week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just not going to speak Chinese to him for the whole week, and then I'm going to like one day just say Chinese and blow his mind. And so I was teaching him, and like he didn't really speak English, but I was like, just going to keep speaking English. And then another Taiwanese person asked me a question, and I answered it, and I noticed that he saw that, but he didn't say anything. And then we had these two like airlock doors that we had to go through together, so we had to wait for one to shut before the other one opened. And he's like, "Did I hear you speak Chinese?" And I was like, "Oh, 我跟你讲啊，我之前住在你的国家." And he's like, "What?" And he hit me. Because I thought it was hilarious.
He's like, motherfucker, why didn't you tell me?
And he's like, I don't speak English, and this whole week I've been trying to understand what you're saying, and I have no idea what you're saying, and you could have just told me in Chinese. I was like, it's funny, He didn't think so.
He's just like, man, you're making my life super stressful.
I know, I just like to troll, but...
That's too funny, there are dudes that speak, like a white dude that speaks good Chinese that they'll go to like the Chinatown in like Vancouver or Australia or whatever and speak Chinese, and people freak out. I mean, that's like super viral stuff. That could be something.
I saw that too, but coming to Taiwan this time, and like now that I've like just started like doing a bit of social media, I think those videos for me anyway are impossible because every single person I've spoken to in Chinese, they just look at you and then continue talking back in Chinese.
Okay.
Like this time,
they're not shocked.
No one's batted an eye. No one's been like, whoa. They're just, oh, cool. So we're going to talk in Chinese. It's weird. Like, because back in the day, everyone would freak out, but now no one really freaks out.
But if you do it in Australia, Chinatown or something, I don't know if you guys have China. I think everywhere's got Chinatowns, right? If you pop into a Chinatown and be like, oh, okay, we're good, whatever, right? Gong Bao Ji Ding, and they'll just be like, what the, I think that'd be crazy. That could be good.
I was with some friends in Melbourne once, and like they're from Taiwan, and I was talking to them, and then the owner of the shop was like, oh, did you learn your Chinese in Taiwan? And I was like, how do you know that? Like, your pronunciation. And she's like, you sound like you have like a Taiwanese accent, not like, people here that learn like mainland China accent.
Sure. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, it's like our English accents, and like I did this summer camp, and there was a girl there from the UK, and even like your wife when she said the lift, right? And I used to teach at a school where there was a girl from the UK as well, and she would say things like lift and lorry. And I thought it was so cool because it's different. Like in Canada, you would never hear that. So it's always cool to hear different, in your own language, like a completely different word for the same thing, like lorry. Yeah. Like I had to like check, like what the hell is she talking about, lorry? And I'm like, oh, it's a truck. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's too funny, man. I love that. Yeah. But so immersing yourself in Taiwan, right? And how's that affected your life, your personality, your fight style, like being here? Absorbing the culture in Taiwan?
I don't know, like, if it's changed my personality so much, but I also think, too, at the same time, when you speak another language, you almost have another personality.
100%.
Because, like, I learned a bit of Japanese before I learned Chinese, so when I would go to Japan to fight, I'd talk in Japanese, and I felt like I wasn't me. Maybe my vocabulary wasn't enough in Japanese to like be me. You know, I like to be cheeky and like have a few jokes.
Sure.
But then like when I speak Chinese, just because like the way things translate and the way you play on words don't work between the two languages.
Yes.
So I can't have the same sense of humor that I do in English in Chinese.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I'm a different person.
Yeah.
I think that's one noticeable thing.
I 100%. I have some guests that are like multiple language people, and they always say they have their Chinese personality, their Brazilian personality, their Spanish personality, and I agree. And I think for me, my Mexican sort of personality and my Chinese ones are very similar. That's why they kind of like overlap, because they're kind of just like 没有关系啊，可以了，没关系啦, you know. People come in and they just, you know, 你怎么越来越帅哦, you know. So I take those, I like download that, and then the next person that comes in, and I'll just be like, oh, 你怎么越来越帅哦, and people are like, oh my god, they're like, what the hell is this guy doing? So that's how I speak Spanish too. So it's always like, it's a funny thing, man, and I think language is it's crazy. I think it affects personality and life,
for
and
sure.
It's a weird thing to describe to when people don't speak more than one language, but it's cool.
I think too, your accent when you say it too changes, like, because that's also a part of your personality. So like when I speak Japanese, I have this like little thing I say to like find my voice. I'll be like, and then like I find my accent from that sentence and I use it. Whereas like that's not my Australian accent. It's my Chinese accent.
Yep.
Although, you know, sometimes I'll be like, all right, cool. How would Japanese Dave sound in English? You know, like, I'm from Australia, like something stupid like that. I'm like, well, that's not me. That's weird. But yeah, I find like maybe you know, because like living here, and I was teaching English. I had to teach American English. So I had to put an accent on.
That's funny. Yeah, that's a great story already.
So for like you know 2 years of like uni and then 2 years of teaching, I was using more Chinese than English. But if I used English, I had to be with an accent because everyone has to learn American English. Yeah. So when I moved back to Australia, I kind of like took that accent with me, and everyone's like, "Oh, like where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, here." And you're like, "But before here, like where were you born?" I'm like, "No, I was born in this town." And they're like, "Oh, what?" And then, you know, I'm less exciting now because I'm not a foreigner. But
you're less exotic.
Yeah. And I didn't even realize that my voice was different. You know, I thought I was talking the same, but maybe now I sound more Australian because I've been back there for a while. But being absent from Australia and not talking, I guess like them, or even like living here, like anything that I watched was American, or like a podcast would be American.
Okay,
I didn't hear Australian English for like, you know, a few years.
Gotcha.
And then going back, I was like, whoa, these guys sound weird. Do I sound like that? I don't know. And then they hear me and they're like, oh, you sound different. Where are you from?
That's funny.
Yeah.
I actually had a good friend who was half Indonesian and half Australian. He was one of my first friends in Taiwan, and he learned his English in Australia. And he'd be like, good on you, mate. And it's just like this total Asian face, you know?
Yeah,
just like, what? It's so it goes both ways. It's hilarious, man. I love that, man. Do you have one of the biggest challenges that you've had in Taiwan studying, or has there been any kind of moments that you think like, oh my gosh, this is something?
Not so much. Like, I think uni was quite hard.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So I ended up living off campus. Just I needed privacy. I didn't want everyone to like know where I was and stuff. And because like, you know, people were like paying attention to me, talking about me. I think back then there was like a website like people would blog on. I think it was called like Wuming or something.
Oh, really?
Something like that.
Okay,
I forgot if that's what it is. I'm sure someone can correct me. But like people would like write blogs about me that like I didn't even know about, and someone else would like show me, and I'm like, what is this? And I just felt like real awkward. And like I said, I was real shy back then.
You're a
like,
celebrity all of a sudden.
Yeah, and like I've got used to like that now, but back then like that was such a big deal for me.
Yep.
So like, you know, after class would finish, I'd pretty much just go straight home and not be on campus because I just didn't want everyone to like look at me.
Yeah.
And like I think it got harder for me when my Chinese got better because I knew what they were saying.
Yeah.
So I ended up just always wearing headphones. So like, I mean, I just don't want people to talk about me. This is weird.
Yeah.
But one funny story is like one time I was finishing class and this girl came up to me and she's like, "Oh, can I take a picture with you?" And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And so she took a picture, like she did a little selfie.
Yeah.
And then she just stood there and I was like, "Oh, what do I do?" And I was like, "Do you want my MSN?"
Yeah.
And like, you know, that's forever ago. I'm sure like young people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah." So I gave her my MSN, and then she ran off. And but like, cause that whole exchange, I was like real
Yeah.
awkward. I didn't like look at her face. Like, I don't remember what she looks like.
Yeah, sure.
And then one time she messaged me on MSN. She's like, "Hey, why do you ignore me at school?" And I didn't want to be like, "I forgot what you look like."
Yeah, that's crazy.
And her display picture was like some anime thing, not a
that- it's
photo.
not that's the problem.
And I was like, I don't know what she looks like, and I can't tell her I don't know what she looks like.
Yeah.
And then like I think she blocked me and we never spoke again.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was really awkward.
One of the most hilarious things is, I don't know if Australia is like this, but in Canada and in the US, when they see like Asians, like Korean and Chinese and Japanese, they think they all look the same. I don't know about Australia, but Canada is like that, US is like that. And then these are like non-Asian people, obviously. And then when we come here, they think we all look the same.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
crazy, right? So I've had, you know, you go and you teach like a summer camp and you go teach whatever, and you get this wide range of, you look like this celebrity, you look like this celebrity. So when I came, it was just like, you know, I was in shape, I was way younger, and they're like, oh, Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll take Ronaldo, yeah. And then, you know, a couple years go by, you go do another summer camp, and then you're like, oh, you look like Adam Sandler, and I'm like, that's a pretty big drop.
Yeah,
You know, I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
damn,
Oh.
all right. I'm like, oh man, I better get back into the gym, you know, shoot.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I went to this one summer camp a few years ago, and this girl, probably 15-year-old girl, she's telling me, oh, you know, they're always like, oh, teacher's so handsome, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, she goes through that spiel, and she's like, you look like this movie star, blah, blah, blah. I can't picture who it is, but when it comes to me, I'll let you know. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, well, now I'm curious. I'm like, well, who are you thinking? She's like, he's like the best looking dude in the world, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, wow. I'm like, is it Ronaldo? And she's like, no, way better looking than Ronaldo, right? And I'm like, better looking than Ronaldo. Like, damn, okay, that sounds good. And I'm like, who's better looking than Ronaldo? I'm like Brad Pitt? Who is it? And she's like, no, forget about Brad Pitt. It's way better looking than Brad Pitt. So she's like, I'm gonna go home, figure it out. When I come back tomorrow, I'll tell you. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, I wonder who it is. I'm curious. The next day, she's like, teacher, I figured it out. I'm like, okay, well, who was it? And she's like, Mr. Bean.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, like you're just like shattered. Like, what? Mr. Bean? And she's like, and she legit
So he
thought
was
Mr.
handsome?
Bean was like a good looking guy.
Yeah, okay.
And like it was a compliment. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my soul is crushed for a second. She's like, Mr. Bean, he's so handsome. And I'm like, what? I'm like, Ronaldo to Bean. I need to write a book that's from Ronaldo to Bean, you know? Like, make sure you keep in shape, right? So it's hilarious because
yeah.
you're just like, wow.
I remember,
It's funny, man. Have you got any something like that? I would imagine
not so much like that, but
Yeah.
one time, so I came here for a grappling competition.
Yeah.
I can't remember what year it was.
Yep,
But
yep,
like, so
yep.
I was like, I'd just done the competition. I was
Uh-huh.
in peak shape, and I was on the MRT with like my ex-girlfriend at the time,
Yep.
and
yeah.
there was this old couple across from us, and I was like falling asleep. It was like real late. And I could hear them talking about me, and they're like saying something about my physique, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's hilarious, whatever. And they got off at the same stop as us, and they came up to me in English. She's like, oh, can I take your picture? I was like, oh, sure, why not, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like this. I was like, oh,
Like, ooh, yeah.
okay, sure. And then like, you know, so my girlfriend's standing next to me, and he's like, no, you out of the way.
You get out of
And
here.
I was like, he doesn't want you in the picture. And then like we
Yeah,
took
yeah.
this picture, and I never saw
Yeah.
him again. But like, yeah,
That's funny.
it's just weird. Like you wouldn't do that back home.
I
Yeah.
mean, but here, yeah, it's funny how people will always say like, let's take a picture. And here, you know, you're like, okay.
Yeah, well,
Back home, you wouldn't.
even like, you know, I was saying to my family like the other day, we were talking about how like in Australia it's kind of weird to like, you know, take selfies or film something.
Yeah.
But you know, here everyone does that all
Everyone
the time.
does it, yeah.
And no one bats an eye. But like, I remember back home, you see someone do a selfie, and you're like, whoa, what are they doing?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think now with social media, like that's probably changing a bit. But it's still in the back of my head. So if I pull my
Yeah,
phone out,
it's
I'm like,
tough.
oh, I'm being weird right now, even though it's normal.
It's funny because like here you can walk down the street with your cell phone and just do your walk and talk or whatever, right? And you feel like normal.
Yeah.
But when I went to Canada a couple years ago, 2 years ago, we took like this ferry ride, and it's like these BC ferries, and there's not really any nice videos of it. So we did a little walk and talk stuff, me and my daughter on the ferry, and all the kids. And it's like a small town area, right? So everybody's looking at us like, who is this asshole? You know, like, who does he think he is?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I live in Asia, guys. I mean, this is normal
what we
where I
do,
live,
yeah.
you know. And they're just like, who does this guy think he is? It's too
Yeah.
funny, man. It's too funny. Let's talk about the fights a little bit, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you started to get into the MMA, the BJJ, the Muay Thai?
I think
all
I
that
was like
stuff, man.
maybe 16. And like,
Oh,
so
wow, okay.
I grew up in a family that loved WWE.
Love it.
And so like,
Yeah.
I was like, man, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a like WWE superstar or whatever.
I wanted that, too.
But I'm not like 6'5", and I'm not like 120 kilos of muscle.
Roman Reigns or Batista.
Yeah,
Or,
I was like,
The
well,
Rock.
what's the plan B? And
Yeah.
I go into wrestling, like freestyle and Greco, and then I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I was like, this is pretty cool, but like, there's not too much you can do with it. And then like, I wasn't really about MMA back then, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. I'll start training some striking. I put it all together.
Yeah.
I kind of just fell in love with it. Like,
Okay.
But I don't know. I grew up like as a loser as a kid, so I used to get bullied and stuff.
Okay.
And yeah, but like I don't know, I just got into it, and like I saw it as like this game, like a thinking game, even though you're using your body
It's
and
like
like on
chess,
the
man.
yeah, chess.
For sure.
And even though on the outside it looks quite violent, you're not thinking about the violence because like when people meet me now, and if they meet me and get to know me before they know that aspect of me,
Yeah.
they're like, what? I'd never have guessed that you do that. Like, you're so nice. I'm like, it's a sport, guys. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not angry. Like, I don't hate the world. It's just a sport.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
some people can't like get their head around it, but others like, oh, okay, that's just a surprise. I'm like,
Is it growing? I think it must be growing in Australia,
Yeah,
right?
it's getting
Because of
huge.
Volkanovski and like
Yeah.
some of the Australian fighters, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's
getting big.
It's big, right?
yeah, like, and I think I don't know. It's a good outlet. Like, I think I'm so relaxed because
Yeah.
I'm doing this sport where I get to like throw people around or like hit people, whatever, and I take out any stress I have. Like, I'm
That's
never
beautiful.
angry. Like, and I feel weird if I get angry or I get like hard on myself. I'm like, oh, why did I lose my temper? That's not the way. You got to be calm all the time.
That's awesome.
And like because I've started doing this youth program with the police.
Tell me about that, please.
And like so now the kids, because like they're on the streets, like in where I'm from, like everyone's like getting into trouble. There's
High
a lot
pressure,
of youth
high
crime.
stress. Yeah.
And so we bring them in, and like we'll do gym stuff with them. Some want to do boxing, some want to do like jiu-jitsu, wrestling. But at the same time, we're like, oh, we probably shouldn't teach them this because they'll use it on the streets. But then they also need an outlet. And then I think for me anyways, I don't know about if it's working with the kids. Like when we do jiu-jitsu and like someone taps me out, puts me in like a guillotine or something.
Yeah.
Like if that was like the wild, I would have died. And
Yeah.
but we have this notion of tapping out, starting again.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of like humbles you because you're like, oh, I went to training tonight. I got caught in 3 submissions. If we didn't have this little thing of tapping, like I would have died 3 times.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then you realize like you're mortal and you're not like some great like unbeatable person. You're like, I'm just
Yeah.
like everyone else. And we show the kids, like some of the kids really take to the jiu-jitsu and they start getting good. And then like you let them win a little and then you start upping their levels and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, there's actually more to this than what I think, and I'm actually not as good of a fighter than what I
Yeah.
thought I was.
Yeah.
Because like we had this kid come in and he's like, oh, I'm street smart, and we're like, I don't think that's a good thing, man. Like you want to be
Yeah.
academically smart. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, you just need to know the streets. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, sure, but I don't agree. And he came in one day, he's like, oh yeah, I got into this fight and I like messed this kid up. And I was like, oh, he must have been a bigger pussy than you. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, you're a pussy. Like, I've held pads for you, and like, you're not a good fighter. He's like, get stuffed. I was like, dude, just because you bet this guy doesn't make you a good fighter, it just means he's a worse fighter. He's a lower level of bad than you're bad, but not you're a better good,
That's hilarious.
And like, he didn't like that, but he needed
sure.
a reality check. And
Yeah.
I think like with this youth program, because some of the kids, they're like, some of them are like, they come from like fighting or someone from broken homes, but
Yeah.
those ones that have like chips on their shoulders or big egos, you just need to let them know that like, hey, if you mess with the wrong person, like you're going to get hurt yourself. So
For
maybe
sure.
you probably shouldn't do that. But with some of the kids, I don't know if we reach them as good as we could.
It's tough. It's going
Yeah.
to be tough, sure.
Yeah.
Just quickly, what's the organization? Give me a link later and I'll put it in the
Yeah,
description
okay,
as
cool.
well.
So it's called Blue Light.
Okay.
So yeah, the police started it, and now we've got a grant from the government because it's been so
Beautiful.
successful.
Nice.
So there's a few different ones in Victoria, back home in Australia, and ours has been the most successful. So they've
Awesome.
actually come to ours to be like, oh, how are you connecting with the kids?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think you have to be like them, like, because I'm
100%.
I'm a
Yeah.
nerd. Like, if I'm not like doing MMA or at the gym, like I'm just playing video games,
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
anime,
Yeah.
and that's what these kids do too.
Yeah.
So on day one, I'm able to break down that wall, you know, I'm like, oh, what games do you play? And then we start talking like that.
100%.
Whereas I think, like, because we've seen, like, the people that come from the other programs to our program, you see the mentors or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't see how, like, a kid's going to open up to you.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to you, but, like, you have to find a way to connect to them.
Connect, yeah.
And,
yeah.
like, you're not going to be that personality. Maybe you need a different person in the role, because if you try, it's going to come off quite fake.
It's fake.
Yeah.
I just quickly on that, I feel like I've coached soccer since I was a kid, and I've taught English, which is almost the same, all of that stuff. And I also feel like if you kind of bring yourself down to like a level, and then you get that like commonality, right, and then you bring them up, it works every time.
Yeah.
It's great. So it sounds like that's what you're doing. Yeah.
I think that's almost full circle with what we were talking earlier about Chinese. Is like, you know, if we can speak Chinese, we can mix with these people,
Yes,
and we
you're right.
break down that wall. And it's the same with these
100%.
kids. We just got to find something that we can connect with and work with these kids. Like, some of the kids, like, it sucks. Like, I don't really play like Fortnite or Call of Duty or GTA. It's like some kids play like the same games I play, like story narrative games. But then like some kids are coming in like, oh yeah, I play GTA. I'm like, oh cool. What else? They're like, you know, COD. And you're like, oh
that's
what else?
tougher.
And they're like Siege. And I'm like, oh, we don't really have anything to talk about now.
Yeah, that's tough.
Do you like MMA? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh sweet, I do MMA. Like, do you want to train MMA? And they're like, yeah, cool, let's do that. And then we connect.
That's cool. Yeah. I think that's a really cool program. I didn't know that was a big issue out there in Australia.
I just think youth crime, like where we are anyways, is like on the rise.
Wow.
And like, I think too, like, our education system isn't strict on kids. They can just run amok.
Yep.
And you know, they don't know what's good behavior and what's bad behavior, and then they're on the streets.
Yeah.
And like, you know, we discussed earlier how, like, you know, Taiwan, you're spending like what, 12, 14 hour days doing education. You don't have time to get into trouble because you have to do all your stuff.
Zero youth crime, pretty much.
Whereas like kids, like, they might drop out of school, like they skip school, and then they're just on the streets getting into trouble.
Yeah.
And then you see, like, probably like my generation of like kids that dropped out, you know, they're just like breeding like rabbits, and they're you know, creating kids in bad environments, broken homes, who are even worse, and like they're going to do the exact same thing, and then the next generation is going to be worse. So we're trying to break that, which is an uphill battle. That's for sure.
Definitely.
But like, I think, like, you know, we have a few kids that like really helped, and like you can see that we've made a difference. And like some of them are like from broken homes, or they've been bullied. Like one kid, I've probably been teaching him jiu-jitsu for like 6 weeks, I think. And like, because we're just doing one-on-ones, he's learning so much faster.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't been to school for 2 years because he was getting bullied, and he's like, you know, in his shell. And then the moment we hit up the mats, he just came out of his shell, and he's like a whole different person now. And now we're trying to find a way for him to apply that way of thinking into, like, you know, school and going back to school. And I told him, like, if we keep training a few times a week, I reckon by December we can do a competition. And like, his mum's so happy, like, she's like almost in tears, because she's like, he hasn't left the house for like 2 years. He's met you, and now he's like talking about going to Melbourne, you know, the big city, to compete in, like, you know, a combat sport.
Beautiful.
Like, who was he like 2 months ago? He wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
And so like that's really worthwhile.
I think that MMA, and especially something like jiu-jitsu, is huge for kids. Like, my daughter goes to jiu-jitsu. She's been doing jiu-jitsu since she was like 6 or something like that. Yeah. So she's pretty confident. Like, we're pretty, you know, like, I'm a big fight fan. You know, I also did some jiu-jitsu when COVID came. You know, everything got tight, so I stopped and she kept going, right? But I think it's really huge for her. She has some good friends from jiu-jitsu, and she also feels confident, because even here in Taiwan, you'll see videos of like bullying and stuff like that. Yeah. And my wife is always like so worried that she's going to get bullied, because sometimes the mixed kids in certain areas get bullied. Yeah. Maybe not in this area, because this is kind of like, people in this area think mixed kid, that's a cool thing, because you got the English and you're like the half thing, right? Yeah. But in certain areas, mixed kids do get bullied. So she was always worried about that. But my daughter, I mean, she's not a wrecking machine, but she's got pretty decent jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. So yeah, it was funny when she was in elementary school. She would see, like, she was probably grade 3, and she would see like this big grade 6 boy bullying like a grade 4 boy who was half his size, and she would tell me about that. And I'm like, okay, well, how did that make you feel? And she's like, I'm probably going to do something next time. I'm like, don't do anything. I'm like, don't do anything. You could tell the teacher, because the guy's huge. First of all,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you're like 8, so she's like, yeah, I might have to do something. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea.
She's like, actually, Dad, I want to do something.
She's like, actually, Dad, I could just take his back, you know, slip
Just
a rear
take the
naked choke on him. I'm like, I know that, but how are you going to get him to the ground? And she's like, single leg or double leg. I'm like, yeah,
she knows what's up.
yeah, I'm like, but he's huge, he's pretty big. So I'm like, if he's twice your size, you know, just, yeah, I mean,
I'd
take
be
it
like-
easy.
I'd
Don't
be
be overconfident.
Ankle pick, just ankle pick him.
There you go, ankle pick. There you go. Yeah. So I'm like, just take it easy. Like, yeah, if they're coming to you, do it. But you know, a boy twice your size, don't jump in on that, right?
Yeah.
It's so
Wait,
fun. It's too funny.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, like,
Yeah.
like
Overconfident almost. Yeah.
with wrestling, like, you know, a
Yeah.
lot of it's technique.
Yeah.
Some of these kids that we have, you know, they're like maybe like 14 to like 17.
Okay, yeah.
And then, like, you know, I've had them, and like, I'm like, cool, I'm gonna teach you how to like do a double leg on me. They're like, I can't pick you up. You're like twice my size. I'm like, no, it's just technique. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna shoot in, your shoulder's gonna hit my hip. I'm gonna go over your body. You're gonna look up, make sure your spine's straight, and just lift me up. If
Yeah.
you do it properly, I'm gonna feel weightless. And then, like, you know, by the end of like that session, they're like dumping
Everyone's
me on my
tossing you.
head.
Yeah.
Right? In the beginning, they're like, there's like no way I could pick you up. I'm like, it's just technique, man. Obviously, after a certain point, it is a bit of weight, but
Yeah, for
technique
sure.
always
sure.
wins.
That's awesome, man. So you feel that starting with like the jiu-jitsu is good for the kids?
Yeah, well, actually,
I
like,
mean-
Australia lacks a proper wrestling program,
Okay.
unlike the States.
Well, who said that recently? I think Khabib or Islam or something. It's like, oh no, Hamzat's like Australia, no wrestling. And,
Yeah,
and you're like,
that's-
Jesus, this guy.
Well, that's it. Like, I was
Yeah.
fortunate. Like, I actually came across my coach. He was from Iran.
Okay.
We were working at the same place, and he had massive cauliflower ears.
Okay, and
I
you're
was
like,
like,
"Ooh."
this guy knows something. Otherwise, like, you know, he's just got messed up ears, and that's unfortunate for him.
That's not likely. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
didn't know how to talk to him because he was in a different section. But there was a guy in my section who was also from Iran. I was like, hey, man, like, do you know that guy? He's like, oh, yeah, like,
a gold
he's
medalist.
won a few competitions, and, like, we know him back home. I was like, oh, but do you know him here? He's like, nah, but I can talk to him for you if you want. And
Yeah.
and that's how I started training, like,
Okay.
freestyle and Greco.
That's
You know, you
awesome.
just see someone with cauliflower ears, and you're like, that guy knows something.
Yeah, that's
And,
too funny. Yeah.
And so he started teaching me freestyle and Greco, and
Okay.
and then I started learning jujitsu. But like, I've noticed, like, you know, we don't have those wrestling schools
Gotcha,
here.
yeah.
Like, you can learn it like maybe at a gym, but it's not in like a school program like the States. Like,
Yeah.
jujitsu is cool, but like, I think because I did jujitsu.
If you can combine the two, I think, right?
Yeah, like I did no gi for maybe like 9 years before I
Oh,
even
wow.
put a gi on.
Okay.
So like, I guess technically I was a white belt, even though like I would be better than that, but I've never
Sure.
done gi work.
Yeah.
And like, you can't learn certain things at certain belt levels, or like, you know, there's restrictions.
Okay.
Whereas with wrestling, it doesn't matter about that. It's like whoever wants it
There's
the
no
most,
belts. Let's
whoever
go.
works the hardest is going to get it. And I
Okay.
think that teaches kids good work ethic.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you can't learn this submission because you don't have a blue belt or a purple belt. It's like, all right, you want to win, you train hard, you wear the other person out,
Yeah.
you win. And I think that teaches people, like, or teaches kids, you know, if you want something, you
Get
have
it.
to outwork that other person.
Yeah.
Whereas now in schools, like, I don't know about here, probably definitely not here, but back in Australia, you know, everyone gets like a participation trophy now.
Sure.
Everyone gets a ribbon for something, and you know, oh, you came last. Here's a ribbon.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you came
yeah.
first. Here's an identical ribbon. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
people like go into the workforce thinking they'll just have stuff
Where's my
handed to them.
ribbons? Yeah.
Whereas like, I'm sure here, you know, everyone like has to pass their academics and they understand hard work. Whereas I think
Yeah.
if wrestling was implemented in the school programs back in Australia,
Yeah.
people would work a little bit harder.
Sure.
Yeah, but like,
I
think I was
agree.
fortunate to learn it the way I did.
I agree. I think that the participation medals and stuff it's not great because
Yeah.
I think that it discourages kids from trying to, you know, work hard, right?
Yeah,
Like kids, you know, you get your first, your second, your third, and then after that, you know, if you get the fourth or whatever, you think I'm going to work harder and then try to, you know, get on the podium or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to go for first or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think it's huge. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, if it's, I don't know. Like, it's weird in my head. Like, when I've done grappling comps, if I get first place and like, you know, I get my medal or whatever, I like, the ref will like raise my arm and I never smile. Like, I get off the mats. But if I lose, like, I almost cry. Like, if I get like a
Okay.
second place medal, like, I'm devastated.
Devastated,
It's so
okay.
weird because like, I did an international grappling comp here And I won my division. It was like the 84 or whatever division.
Yeah.
Came first, and then there was an open weight division, and I got to the grand final, and I ended up getting tapped out by like a 60-something kilo guy from Hong Kong.
Okay.
Like he almost broke my arm, and so I had a second place medal. And then
Okay.
we went to some restaurant to like celebrate, and I'm here like, here's my first place medal, and I kind of threw it to the side and just stared at the second one, and everyone's like, you have a gold medal too. I'm like, yeah, but this one's more recent. Like
That's
my
funny.
last match I lost when it mattered the most.
That's
And
funny.
I'm like, well, you know, that's all I can think about. I couldn't think about how I was so successful. And I'm like, all right, well, back to the drawing board. Like, how did I lose? How can I fix that? You know, and keep working hard again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's really good for kids. I mean, my daughter, she hasn't wanted to go to a tournament or anything yet. I'm like, okay, we don't have to go until you want to go. But yeah, it's cool because I remember, you know, you win a game or you lose a game or whatever in soccer, and you remember the ones that you lost.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
damn
that's
it,
it, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
It's funny. Yeah.
I think triangles are my kryptonite. Every time I've lost, like
Okay.
MMA,
Oh.
like jiu-jitsu has been in a triangle.
Okay.
And like I got tapped out in Japan in a triangle, and my coach, like, you know, the following week was like, all right, triangle escapes, and we did them for like ages, and like I still can't get out triangles.
Okay.
I just
Okay,
and the
okay.
moment I get put in one, like I just have like PTSD, and I start
like, "Oh,
hitting the
shit."
panic stations.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
I got to work on that.
That's crazy, man. I think that, yeah, jiu-jitsu, I think for kids is really good. And what you were saying earlier about being so chill most of the time and being like, you don't get angry and stuff like that. Like some of the fighters that I've met, like MMA guys, black belt, jiu-jitsu guys, you know, second, third, fourth degree black belt guys, they're just like Hawaiian almost. They're just
Yeah,
permanently
yeah.
like mellow. Like, no, that's okay, man. No, and you know, you mess the food up or something. Like, sorry, I'm gonna make something for you really quick. And they're like, no, that's okay. And they're just like, no. The Brazilians, they're just like, hey, no problem. It's
Yeah.
okay, you know. And they're so mellow and so chill. It's crazy, yeah.
I've noticed back home, I don't know like if it's in other countries, but here, like if you come from a boxing background,
Yeah.
opposed to like a grappling background, there's like a lot of different personas in the sense
Okay,
of like
okay.
a boxer's got a chip on their shoulder. Like, you know,
Yeah.
if you walk up to someone in the street and you notice they got a boxing bag or something, you're like, oh, hey, do you box? They're like, yeah, I'll mess you up. And you're like, oh, hey, man, I was just looking for training partners.
Yeah.
Whereas if you walk up to a guy with a cauliflower ear and you're like, hey, do you wrestle? They're like, yeah, do you? You're like, do you want to get on the mats? And
Yeah.
like, you know, it's different. Like wrestlers
Yeah.
seem to be more approachable. But in MMA, like you've got best of both worlds, so you can probably approach those guys.
Yeah.
If someone's a straight boxer, they tend to come from a particular background.
Okay, yeah,
And
yeah.
they seem to be a bit more aggressive,
little
whereas
rough, yeah.
grapplers are a bit more chill.
Yeah, that's funny. And especially like some of those high level grapplers, they're just like, no problem, man. It's okay. It's all
Yeah.
good. Like everything's all good.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. And they are the guys that can, you know, mess everybody up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
My first jiu-jitsu coach, he was from Sweden, and he was like the nicest guy I've ever met. Very
Okay.
well spoken. He never says anything bad about someone. Like the one time he did, you're like, oh, that guy must be a bad guy because like Alex said he was a bad guy. He never says that about
Yeah.
anyone.
He likes everyone.
And you know, he wasn't a big dude, and he like worked at the bank. He was like a bit of a dweeb as well. But like he would murder you because he's so polite. Like he would be choking you unconscious while apologizing.
Yeah.
You know, if you like jumped him in the
too
street
funny.
or something.
That's too funny, man. So do you, what's like a regular, like a day in the life of you? So it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff
Yeah,
in Australia.
well-
And, you know, what's a regular day for you? You're training, you've got, you know, your program.
Now it's quite tricky. Like,
Yeah.
so I work at a gym, and like, you know, I start at 5:30 in the morning most days.
wow.
So I get up at like 4:30. I'll have breakfast, and I'll go to work. Sometimes I'll work out in the morning if I don't have to start as early. I like to work out in the morning, kind of like kickstarts me for the day.
Got it. Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, if I've got clients, that's not possible.
Sure.
And then like my work days are quite long, so like I might finish like 5-6 p.m. sometimes
Okay.
6:30 p.m.
Gotcha.
So like I'm at work for like 13 hours or something.
Okay.
I'll have gaps in the middle of the day, but like nothing long enough to warrant a trip home. Because like,
Yeah.
you know, home is only like 8 minutes from work, like a quick car drive. But
Okay.
you know, if I'm only got like, you know, 30 minutes or something, like
Gotcha.
8 minutes there and 8 minutes back, like there's no point going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've also started doing uni as well, and that's full time. But that's online, so that's kind of
Okay.
convenient. So I can just do that.
Bring a
in-
laptop and just kind
Yeah,
of,
so if I've got like, you know, a free hour, I'll just do some study. But so it's actually Chinese, and at the moment it's not too hard because
Okay.
it's like very basic Chinese.
Okay. Nice.
And so I've been able to brush through it pretty easy without having to put time into it.
Gotcha.
Because in Australia, everyone learns simple Chinese.
Oh, the
There's just
simplified
random characters
Okay.
that I have to learn that I've never seen before.
Gotcha.
Which, you write them a few times and like it sticks in your head. But yeah, so like in terms of free time, I don't get too much because like I'll work on weekends. I'm trying
Yeah.
not to. Like, my family are trying to make sure I don't work
Of
as
course.
much on weekends.
Yeah,
Which is a bit tricky. Just because like, you have so many clients and they all want the same time slots. So you have to like cater for those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it'd be wake up, go to work, get my own training in if there's a gap, and then just have clients, finish work, do my uni, and go back to bed kind of thing. And and now I've like I've started like doing social media, but like that's going to be a slow process.
Yeah.
And just like on the side when I have free time to try and like do that because editing takes so much time.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
like to do the live and like the stuff that performs the best will be like, when I have a chance, I'll take this video, I'll shrink it down to like 10 minutes, and then I'll do the subtitles. Those ones do really well, but that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll do the clips and stuff. The clips do pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So it's the long ones it's a little tougher, but for me, instead of just recording it, I like to do it live. Sometimes you get, depending on the time of the day, you get messages and stuff. So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool, man. I think definitely do it.
Yeah.
Brother, this has been a great chat. I think that you've been, when are you moving back to Taiwan? Last question.
Well,
yeah.
That's actually my mission with this
Yeah,
trip.
okay.
I've actually been telling every single cab driver
Yeah.
because like, every time I get into a cab, I think
Yeah.
it's like my new hobby is like
Yeah.
talking Chinese to the cab drivers because they're like, "Whoa, you speak Chinese?
Yeah, they love it.
Let's
Yeah.
talk." I'm like, "Yeah, like maybe we should just keep driving. Like,
They
don't
love
drop
chatting.
me off."
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh yeah," so I brought my family over just to show them like where I used to live and stuff. And I kind of low key want to like convince them to move here because we're talking about moving back home to
Gotcha.
a different city, a different
Oh,
state.
hey,
I'm like, why
perfect.
not across the ocean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like. Life here is a bit more cruisy, and like
For sure.
the cost of living in Australia is going up like stupid amounts. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
we
yeah.
could just go to Taiwan, teach English. It's pretty good money.
Yeah, for sure.
Not be as stressed as like we would be in Australia.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that's going to go yet.
Well, so
Yeah.
far we're trying to convince them. I think they like it. No.
Yeah,
So
they
far
do.
They like
They
it. It's
do
their
a lot.
first time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
And your wife is a teacher as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think
right?
it's the humidity
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the biggest deal breaker.
That's tough. That's tough.
Because
Yeah.
Australia is like, super dry. Like we
Yeah.
get like 40, 44 degrees.
No problem.
I don't know if that's
Okay.
in Fahrenheit.
Yeah. No, I'm Canadian, so it's
So
all
that's
good.
fine. Yeah. Well, anyone who's American, like, I don't know what Fahrenheit
When people
means.
tell me Fahrenheit, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because
Yeah.
we spent most of our time up here, but like I obviously like wanted to spend more time in the south in
Sure.
Pingdong.
Of
But
course.
like it's way hotter and way more humid down there.
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
Our trip down south the other day, like I felt like it made a liar out of me because like it was actually better weather
Okay.
down there than it has been up here. Which
Usually
Yeah.
is actually, yeah.
So I was quite surprised. So
Yeah.
if we moved back, it'd have to be up here in the north for sure. Like,
North
I
is
think.
good. There's lots of gyms now. I just did the English commentary for Tap Out Island. It was like a jiu-jitsu tournament just Saturday, a couple days
I think
ago.
I saw that posted. Yeah.
It was good. It turned out pretty good. I've been doing a lot of the English stuff because of this for like the MMA fights and the
Yeah.
boxing and stuff. It's been pretty good. It's been pretty cool, man. Community is growing.
Yeah.
I think the sport's growing. I think Taiwan's it's a cool spot, and it's
Yeah.
funny. Everyone's really chill. It's a great
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
I like it. Like when I go back to Canada, I enjoy going back and visiting, but definitely feel more at home here.
Yeah.
By far.
It's funny, like
Yeah.
I feel that like even though I've been away for like 6 years,
Yeah.
the moment I'm back here and I'm talking to people in Chinese, like we just start chatting. Like I think I'm not a very Australian. Like I'm not
Okay.
into like AFL football. I don't drink beer.
Aussie rules.
So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when you run into an Australian, I'm like, I've got nothing in common with you.
Okay.
I've got nothing to talk about.
That's funny. Yeah.
Whereas like here, the moment you run into someone, you just I don't know, just so much to talk about, and everyone here is so friendly.
It's a great spot. One more thing quickly on Australians. I get a lot of Australian customers, and so in Canada when I grew up, the shrimp on the Barbie, whatever. But there's the shrimp on the Barbie.
I feel like no one really says that, but
Of course, I don't think anyone's ever said that I know. Right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the Crocodile Dundee. That's
Yeah,
no knife, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then like the big one for me growing up was of course beer, Australian beer, right?
Yeah.
Foster's, right? So
Yeah.
there's a commercial in Canada when I was growing up. it's weird. I always remember this random commercial, and I tell the Australians this. So there's, a can of Foster's, and they have like someone playing, the didgeridoo in the
Yeah,
back.
yep.
Right? And then they go, Foster's Australian for beer, right?
Yeah.
That's like the catchphrase. I don't know if it still is, but when I was a kid, it was. And when people are here and they're chatting, and I found out they're Australian, I will say that to them, right? And they hate it. They're like, nobody drinks Foster's. It's the worst beer, blah, blah, blah. Australians don't drink Foster's. But for me, it's hilarious because it's you're like instantly like connecting, and you're kind of under their skin. And it's so funny, man. Because you just see these video,
I think in Australia, like, I want to say, but like, I don't know because I don't drink. VB, Victorian Bitter, is like
I've heard
a
of that
real
one.
popular beer, maybe.
Yeah.
Like now that like I'm training people at the gym, I'm actually reminded how much people drink because I don't drink myself.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, I want to lose weight. I'm like, sweet, like let's do that.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, but I drink. I'm like, well, that's not going to work, is it?
Help, yeah.
Like I had this one guy who was like quite like larger, and he played for a football team. I'm like, all right, cool. So what's your goal? He's like, I want to look like the other guys in the football team. I'm like, cool, man, we can do that. Like strength and conditioning. I do MMA. I'm all about weight cuts. I'll get you lean. And we're training for a few weeks, and I'd catch up with him like, oh, so how's your eating been? He's like, yeah, good. I'm like, how was it on the weekend? He's like, well, we won the game and we went out and drank beers. And I was like,
how much you have?
You can't do that, man. You want to look like the other guys. They already look like that. They can drink the beers.
Yeah.
Like you can't. And like obviously he never like changed his physique.
That's tough.
It must be
That's
that pressure
tough.
to like drink with the boys as well.
Yeah.
But
sure.
a lot of people
That's too
drink.
funny.
I think one of the common stereotypes or slangs maybe is like crikey. Like
Crikey,
Steve Irwin, like,
yeah.
crikey, look at that croc over there. I remember South Park like did a version of him, which was quite funny.
That's
They're like,
funny.
crikey, I'm seeing to put my thumb up his butthole. And it was like, oh man. But they nailed it. Like they nailed it real good.
It's funny because there's one, speaking of that, like Simpsons episode when they go down to Simpsons. This is an old one. They go down there, right?
Yeah,
they go down, and Bart smuggles like a bullfrog or something on the plane, right? And then they're like, hey, you can't bring that through, so he just lets it free in Australia where it's not native, right? And then it kind of starts reproducing and blah blah blah, and then people are like swatting them away, and Marge is like, oh, those are bullfrogs, we have them all over the place, right? And he's like, bullfrog, that's a funny name. We'd have called them Chazwazzers. It's just every time I see that, I'm like, oh, that's so funny. It's just so random and hilarious and ridiculous, but yeah.
I think there's some crazy slang. Like, there's even stuff that, like, when I moved back, I'd hear it, and I'm like, what is that?
What?
And people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know what that means, man. Like, what is that? Like, I think a real common